Hey guys, this is Titan and I welcome you to episode 3. I welcome you to episode number 3 of this first of my Cities Skylines 2 projects, this city called Schwanach. The goal of this series is to build a city more or less generic so that we can just test out the new custom assets, or more or less custom assets, the region packs we have now, that we can build a realistic looking city with some nice looking buildings, everything bit on a macro level, so not hyper detailed, but just a city that looks realistic from up, or like from up above, and not necessarily from down below, even though just having the houses themselves already is kind of pretty, but don't go hyper detail into every little street level detail, but just detail or develop the city sort of to be viewed from above. Now, in the first episode, we built sort of the station district that can be summarized like this, I think, so that we have the station and some focal roads leading directly towards the center of the station building, and then just developed some residential and mixed zoning areas all around. In the second episode, in the last episode, we built the area that is behind the station with this huge 70s intersection right here, a little park behind the station, and then just more of, let's call it, generic German Gründerzeit development. Now in today's episode, I'd like to continue this trend, and we sort of go counterclockwise around what would be the Old Town Core if there would be an Old Town Core so far. And so in today's episode, I would like to develop sort of this area right here with another with another large 70s piece of infrastructure, so another large intersection that feeds the traffic coming from inside the city as well as going out of the city, or just going around the city. There is this little castle ruin here that we might incorporate or even switch it out for the Paradox Castle. That is not a ruin that we could plop here. I'm not sure yet, but first of all, let's develop this interchange, and then we can see how far we get with this castle, or actually what we can do here. Otherwise, I'm sure it will be more generic German Gründerzeit development. And maybe also start doing the other side of the river here, so that we can seamlessly transition into the next few areas to develop. Before we're gonna do that, let's just quickly jump into Google Maps, because I want to show you the intersection again, the intersection that I'm basing the redeveloped one of this one off. Alright, here we are. Now we are here in the city of Halle an der Saale, Saale being a river that's flowing through the city. And we have this monstrosity of an intersection right next to the main station that you can see over there. And the way this is laid out as kind of a roundabout, but also not really a roundabout, but just a huge intersection that has the shape of the roundabout, I think it's quite interesting. And there's then even the sort of traffic going straight ahead goes above the whole intersection, not even interfering with everything that's going up down there, which I think we could also incorporate very well into our city. And then there's a third layer right below everything else, where trams go and where pedestrians go. It's quite a dystopian thing, and I think the purest definition of what could be called a monstrosity of an intersection. But it's, I'm embarrassed to say, but it kind of fits the style I'm having in mind for the city. And we're just gonna do something like that, and in the end our city will have a ring of gigantic car infrastructure around it. Not very pretty, but realistic and just what you'd expect from, let's call it, the average German city. As sad as it is to say that. So let's dive right into the creation process here, and the first thing we're gonna do for this episode is of course that very intersection that is the centerpiece of that whole episode, and necessarily the first thing we're gonna do is to level the whole terrain so that we have actually some level area to work with here. And the center of the intersection is that large roundabout-ish thing, and that oval you just saw me painting there or plopping down there actually was my 4th or 5th attempt. It was quite tiresome getting the perfect proportions of that whole intersection done, so I'm all the more happy how that turned out in the end and what we're doing right here. So we have that oval as the very center part of the intersection, and then we have roads feeding in from all the different directions that this intersection is connected to. And the way this basically works is that you have a minimum of 2 lanes that go in a perfect circle or a perfect oval around the center of the intersection, and then you have additional lane entering and also leaving the intersection, just as we can see right here, coming from the main road and feeding in a right turn to that little residential street. And then at the very center of the intersection you have 2 straight roads on bridges that connect directly from the city center to the outside world, and I would imagine later on to some industrial areas, as well as necessarily of course to the highway and the outside world in general. So that overall you don't need to pass through that roundabout, through that large intersection. If you just want to come straight from the highway to the city center, then you can just pass by on these bridges. And we have that little the little creek there, and the terrain being on a bit of a slope as we progress out of the city right here. So I had to levelize that as well. And here, likewise, I had some issues getting the perfect grade and the perfect slope to connect it to the 2 roads that head out of the city right here. In the end, it worked, but I really only have that one successful attempt, the last attempt on making this whole piece right here included in the final footage that we're seeing right now. All those previous 5 or 4, I don't know, attempts are not included because it was quite tiresome. Still, working with roads, building intersections is so much fun in this game that even I can't resist the urge of doing it. And I think that is one of the things where the game really, really shines above its predecessor. So guys, here we are with this monstrosity of an intersection, and I'm not sure how I'm gonna cut this whole creation process yet, but I've had quite some struggles making this intersection, and while I think it's acceptable what I've come up with now and how it looks, it could have been better. But I think we're just gonna roll with it for now and see what we can change later on down the line, maybe necessarily, or if necessary, probably. We'll see about that. I had quite some issues with the pavement sticking out like that, as well as with some holes, especially on that intersection between segments of the 2-lane plus sidewalk segments. There were some holes in between the segments. I think I know why those, like the issue with the extruding sidewalk as well as the hole in the road is probably because the pavement is too wide and the road not being symmetrical, I assume. I'll see if I can fix that, but that'll be something for off camera, and I'll just need to fiddle around with it a bit. Same here, which is probably because this pavement is just wider than this pavement, and I'm sure I'm gonna fix that. I'm sure I'll find out how I can fix that, but not now, not today. Let's just continue. And I think first of all we're gonna continue in this whole area right there, and we'll see that we can just develop the castle here, make some park around it, and really set this ruin interest scenery, maybe some cafe next to it, some tourist information probably. So something that's outside the city center, outside of the historic city center, but still worth visiting. And so, yeah, we can build something interesting there. And then I suppose sort of this area here will probably have the same Gründerzeit development as all the other areas we've developed so far. Which I think just makes sense for the city to yeah, expand in all directions. Now for the general scope, I think there will be sort of an outer ring like this, maybe, probably. And I suppose within that ring we will have almost only development like this, very dense, very German, and on the fringes of that outer belt around the city, so on the fringes of this road, I will develop with Gründerzeit development as well. So I'll get rid of these houses, maybe in this episode, maybe off camera, we'll see how that works. Get rid of these houses and yeah, have more Gründerzeit development, or only low rent, high density, spotted every now and then, but not in massive stretches along the road as we have here. So without further ado, let's just develop this whole area here. Should be rather quick, because I don't think I'll necessarily record detailing this all too much, and instead focus on bringing this castle up here back to life, or to life in general. So we'll just see what we get up with that. Yes, and with that second part of today's episode, first of all, we're gonna draw the road layout for this, yeah, for that general Gründerzeit or generic Gründerzeit residential area that we have in all the different parts of the city, and in this part right here as well. There's really nothing in particular to say about the road layout that I'm choosing here. You see, I'm just making room for a little square in front of that focal point building right there. And otherwise, we just continue the trend of that more or less irregular grid that we've been using all over the city so far as well. Just need to levelize or even out the terrain here a little bit to make everything fit in just a little bit better. I'm starting with the corner buildings and fill the space in between the corner buildings out with all the different non-corner buildings we have in German as well in the French pack. Now keep in mind, when I recorded this, even the German pack wasn't released yet, so we're way back in the past here. And right here at the corner between the residential area, the river and the castle area, I thought we could make like a little quarter of a circle as a square with some more or less stately buildings lining the square. I like the thought. The execution of it is, well, it's a bit mediocre if you can follow me there. I'm not really the biggest fan of the buildings and how they line up that little square here. So that might be another thing that we can just change further down the road when we have more custom assets to choose from, and maybe some assets that fit that corner, yeah, just a little bit better. In general, for the rest of this area, you see we have some uneven corners that we need to clip some buildings together. Otherwise, I'm just plopping buildings and that's about it. Really very basic, run-of-the-mill kind of stuff. And then here for the little plaza, I just thought that this would be a nice spot to really emphasize that this building is some sort of focal point, some trees that block the view towards the main road here, even though I still think living in these houses isn't the most pleasant thing, since you definitely have the noise and the view of that big road right there. Now let's move to the castle as the second sort of centerpiece of today's episode. Again, this part likewise is really straightforward, since I'm still only relying on official assets or vanilla assets, so I don't use a ton of custom surfaces or custom decals that I know exist on Paradox mods, but I'm just too afraid to use them, quite frankly, for fear of them breaking whenever the game updates. So again, this whole series is more based on a bit of a macro detailing and not necessarily going into the heavy and tiny details, but I think that works just as fine, to be honest. In any case, what are we doing on screen actually? So we have the castle in the middle. There's a small road going up to the castle just to provide some access. There's a cafe there, small parking space, and all around the castle I just thought would be embedded in a little park area for the neighborhood, for the residentials living there. It's not necessarily sort of a tourist site, maybe a minor tourist site, but if anything, the tourists from the city would venture into the center of the city for some old town buildings that we don't have as of yet, while this area right here would be more of a hidden gem of the city that, you know, if you're in Schwanach, you could also visit that castle, that kind of situation. So otherwise this park is just used by the residentials living in the near vicinity to it. Maybe they go for a run there and just inhabit that. Sadly, that's not a thing that the Sims in this game do, but maybe later on they will. We'll see. Now with this being done, I do have to say I'm satisfied with how this whole area turned out. You see, we have this castle up here. There's small parking grounds. Those decals there have vanished. Where were they gone? Yeah, well, thank you. There's a small parking lot. There's some cafes. This whole area is integrated as a city park, so you also have like a small dog park there, playground, a smaller playground even down there. So this is really embedded into the city structure. Everything could be more detailed, could offer more, details, I guess. But given the scope of this whole project, I think this is fairly fine. It definitely fits in very well, and I will now then continue developing these areas here on these three sides of that huge intersection. Now the idea would be that there would be some maybe low density commercial stuff going on, so there would be like a supermarket, a gas station, these kinds of things. Maybe we can even squeeze like a large store of some kind in, so like a large furniture store or construction store maybe. I don't know if there were assets for that, but we'll see. Maybe we'll find something. And then towards the what you call it in English, confluence, I think, where the two rivers meet, where the small rivers flows into the larger river. Maybe already have a transition into some sort of grassland, so that we only have development up here, and down there there's not much going on other than maybe a large meadow or something, so that we can show that towards this direction this whole city is really transitioning into low density development and all of that sorts. And in this direction, I suppose I'll just plop a couple more of those houses, even though personally I definitely wouldn't want to live there next to this behemoth of an intersection. Maybe we can place some offices behind it, some residential stuff, and have it blend in with these houses here, even though they might be only temporary. I'm still not sure what's going on there, and let's just do that, and I suppose that will then also conclude today's episode, which might be a bit smaller, but again, I'm noticing I'm starting to rambling, and let's just develop this and we'll see where we go and what else we can achieve here. Yes, indeed. So let's just progress and stop rambling about nonsense on the far side of the intersection, so that part of the intersection that really faces where that little creek flows into the larger river, the Schwanach, probably. We still haven't thought about the name of the river, but maybe Schwanach lying on the river Schwanach is a possibility right there. In any case, on this side that faces toward where the two rivers intersect, I thought we might just place some low density commercial stuff, so there would be a supermarket, a gas station, and maybe a cafe of the sort. We don't have the perfect assets for that, like I can't place a McDonald's and good, well, I don't really care about what gas station brand is there, but some realistic gas station brand, some real brand to make it look a bit more realistic. We can't do that yet, so it'll be generic vanilla stuff over there, which I think for the time being it's just as fine. And behind these 3 commercial buildings, I thought we just have this sort of empty meadow that's not really used for anything and just is there and maybe mowed down every now and then. On the other side, on the really opposite side of the intersection, we're doing kind of the same thing. Thought being really that the noise right next to the intersection would probably be too high to have residential areas right there, but some light commercial areas of course are perfect there. Mainly, or for one reason, so that inhabitants don't need to hear the noise of the intersection, but also so car drivers can easily access these commercial businesses right there. But then on the other sides around this intersection right here, I'm just placing some probably or at least really realistically low rent residential buildings, because the thought of this intersection would also be that when this intersection was carved out, it wasn't built on green field, on empty land. It was built in the middle of residential areas, and they probably tore down some blocks of buildings to make room for that intersection. And so I think it's only natural that on both sides of the intersection you still have some traces of that, with some residential houses that have been standing there 50 years already when the intersection was built. And sort of through that have that whole intersection embedded further into the whole cityscape, and really have it as one cityscape. Again, as I did with the intersection last episode, the empty spaces in between the roads are just filled out with some manicured grass, some bushes here and there at these corners. I would have loved to actually also place some guardrails and some barriers, but since they changed colors, I skipped that, because you see, them changing colors is so annoying that I just didn't do it. I later on found out that I could have changed those colors with Painter as well, but oh well. Next time. And I think with these few last steps, we finished the area for this episode. I had fun creating another monstrosity of an interchange. I do hope this is not too much of a, let's say, reoccurring thing in the future of this series, because I'd like to do something different as well. I still need to find out how to weave trams into this mess, but maybe trams just don't go in this area here, because tram network in this city is pretty bad. I'll need to come up with something good there. Maybe you have some suggestions, but I think that's how it's gonna end up. In any case, I hope you liked this video, and thanks for watching in any case. If you like what we're doing here and you want to see this city progress further, including the old town and whatever areas we can come up with in the future, definitely subscribe to this channel and click that bell icon to get notified with any video or any new video. If you want to get in touch with me or others that follow my work, there's a fly flying around here. If you want to get in touch with me or others that follow my work, please feel free to join my Discord server. The link is in the description, and if you really want to support me further, you can do so over on Patreon. The link is in the description as well. And by that, the biggest of thanks to the people that always support me on Patreon. You're amazing. With that, I'll end this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Until then, stay tuned, stay healthy, have a great time, and bye bye.